No matter what, it's not lose our cool.
Thanks for good TV.
Turns it left and wins the race.
They built me a fast Harley Davidson.
Welcome back to the action here at VIR with qualifying for the Superbike class, and we've got in this class Bobby Fong setting the pace yesterday in dry conditions. The conditions this morning far from ideal, but starting to dry out here, and even in the SC Project Twins Cup class we were able to see some dry weather tyres on at the end of that session. So over the course of this 40 minutes of action, we'll see whether or not riders are immediately able to get out on those slicks to be able to get down to pace right away. Yesterday's fastest time, a 24.5 from Bobby Fong, and we'll see how quickly we're able to match those times here in these changeable conditions. In terms of what we've seen so far this season in the Superbike class here at MotoAmerica, it's Josh Herron that leads the championship by 31 points. Bobby Fong, though, our form man in the championship, Raj, only 6 points back of Cam Beaubier.
Yeah, and for Cam and Bobby, this is an important time of the year. They need to try to win some races and try to claw back at 31 points. It's definitely doable.
Yeah, very much doable. And this weekend, Bobby's been in great form, set the pace yesterday. We've now got these changeable conditions, and it's going to be tough to get close to his time.
It's going to be tough to get close to the time yesterday, and see the results there with Sean Dillon Kelly. Great qualifying for him. Josh Herron, they're going to round out the provisional front row. Beaubier, Gagne, Escalante rounding out the second row.
Yeah, and we've got 4 different manufacturers up inside those top 4 positions. But the Yamaha looks very good around here. Looks stable, especially in those high-speed changes of direction.
And Bobby just looked confident on the bike. We could see him in parts of the track heading up to turn 14. The rear end stepped out, just really sliding, and talk always on here about momentum and confidence, and Bobby has it right now.
We can see here down in pit lane, Cam Beaubier still with those wet weather tyres on, but you wouldn't be too surprised if everyone's changing the settings on the bike just to get ready for it to be a little bit stiffer for the drier conditions.
And they might wait for it to dry out even more. This is a longer session compared to the sessions we had previously, so that you see the rain tires on there, so they're going to wait and might let this track dry out even more.
Yeah, we had a red flag yesterday, and we've been gifted an extra 10 minutes of Superbike action. Michael Hill's down in the pit lane, and Michael's down there with our pace setter in yesterday's opening qualifying session, Bobby Fong.
Yeah, Bobby Fong was about to talk to me, but he's now running off. Let's just see if I can catch up to him very, very quickly. No, you're good, you're good. You just didn't want to talk to me. It's all right, it's all right. No,
yeah, sorry.
No, you're good, you're good. Bobby, fast yesterday, fast at Laguna. Confidence is high, but not on track right now.
Yeah, no, I think the team's setting up for a dry setup. We originally set up for the wet setup, so I think we're going to wait a little bit. I think the track will be a little bit more dry by the time we get out there. They gave us a little extra time today, so it would be good to get some dry laps. And these mixed conditions are always a little weird, especially if the weather is going to looks like it's going to be dry, but you never know for the rest of the weekend. But you know, looking forward to getting out there and just spinning some laps and having some fun on my Attack Performance R1.
Obviously back at VIR for the first time in a few years. Happy to be back here?
It's good for the fans. I personally don't care for this place too much, to be completely honest. But you know, we have always done well here. So it's, but it's cool for the fans. Usually there's always a good turnout here, and it provides some good racing, man. There's going to be a big group of us up front this weekend, I believe.
Excellent. We'll let you get ready, and thanks for being a good sport.
Cheers, guys. Have a good one.
Cheers. Back to you guys.
Rog, obviously for Bobby, we've been able to see a really consistent season so far this year. He's only missed out in the podium at four races this season, and his teammate Jake Gagne, he's missed out on one extra race, and that's been the difference between them in the championship.
Just those little mistakes here and there, and for Bobby, he comes out and wins both races this weekend. This might be his new favorite, might go from the track he dislikes to one of his favorites.
Yeah, it's amazing how quickly that can change, isn't it? But Bobby's been in great form this weekend, looks confident. Laguna obviously has a big impact. When you're able to win those two races and ride like that, it's going to give you that confidence coming into the next round. And
the bike and the team is just dialed in also, and they know how to win races and definitely knows how to win some titles.
He wouldn't want to have had to wait the 3 or 4 weeks since Laguna to get back out on track. But we can see here from the aerial shot just how dry some of the patches are out there. That's why for Bobby and the team down there, deciding to get that bike into the full dry conditions. And you can see as the riders make their way up through the top of the hill, it does dry out quite quickly.
And it's dry right through this section of riders we were talking about. And, you know, toward the end of the Twins Cup, if you're just joining in during Superbike, a rider went out on slicks toward the end of that session right before Superbike started, went out and went quickest by a lot, and I think that opened up the eyes to a lot of the other teams. Like, oh well, we had the wet set up, but it looks like the track's dry.
See here now, Bryce Cornbell just making his way around, and we've been able to see through the course of this season, Bryce has been usually in that 9th, 10th, 11th position on the grid, but conditions like this, it's going to be difficult for him to improve on yesterday's time. A lot of the riders, obviously the extra 10 minutes track time is going to make a big difference to be able to give you that bit of confidence to be able to make a step forward as the session goes on. But right at the start of this session, you're going to have to spend those first few laps and the extra 10 minutes that we've been given just really building yourself up.
And the thing too is that all the rubber that the riders put down yesterday to give this track good grip went away. So they got to kind of get the track cleaned back up and get some more rubber down before we see some lap times like we seen yesterday.
We can see here for Cambodia in the pits, the team, we've already seen them make the front forks a bit stiffer. They're changing the rear shock out now. What are the other differences between a wet and a dry set?
Well, to your point there with the wet setup is just a little bit softer. The front end, the rear end, the electronics as well. They'll take a little power out, maybe add a little engine braking, or vice versa. And I think that's just the big thing is just softening up the bike when it's wet, and when it's dry you need stiffer springs and forks because you're pushing harder. You're harder on the front brakes. You need those fork springs to be a little bit tougher to hold in place.
We're looking at Cambobia's bike here, the number 6 BMW, and for Cam, he's got no real margin for error now. Josh Herron's on great form as usual this season. We've now got Bobby Fong hitting his form with his double win last time out at Laguna. But race 1 in Laguna, that was costly for Cambobia, and we're going to get a chance to be able to look back at the action from the opening race of the previous round.
Yeah, and in this race, it just looked like Cameron just didn't get comfortable there until about mid-race. He was really fast that morning in qualifying. See Bobby Fong, Sean Dillon Kelly, those two also on the front row. But Josh Herron on the Ducati starts working his way from the second row start right there, putting himself in the right place. He's going to try to make a move on Beaubier heading into the corkscrew, and he's able to make it stick. See Sean Dillon Kelly moving by Bobby Fong. He's going to cut right back under him out of turn 5. You see Beaubier this last corner. It's kind of a pass we see at Laguna a lot, kind of a block pass, and then Beaubier down into turn 2. Made that mistake and was trying to got back in the race and really got a good result and collected a lot of points. And then Sean Dillon Kelly crashed down that into the corkscrew. He was in a podium spot. You see the battle here, Fong and Herron there trying, Bobby making a move in the last corner. Wasn't able to make it stick, and Herron goes on to get the victory.
Yeah, it was a big moment there for Josh to be able to pick up that race win while Cam had his problems. Beaubier still ended up scoring 10 points in the race, but it was a missed opportunity for him, and for Josh Herron, he was able to take full advantage of that. We're now back to live action here at Virginia International Raceway, and this is the number 69 of Hayden Gillum out there on track, and Hayden's just put in a 49.4 in his first lap. That's an exploratory lap. Let's see what his lap time is whenever he comes across the line now. He's put in a much more representative time now at 27.3, and for the riders, that's still around about 3 seconds off the pace what we had yesterday, but important for Hayden to be able to find that. That's right about 2 seconds slower than he went yesterday.
And when the track is in tough conditions like this, there might just be one sector you can work on, or maybe there's a couple corners that you struggled yesterday, but the track is completely dry today. So you go out there and you work on those parts of the track and then give up a little bit where Hayden's at right now. You can see there's a little bit of wet patches still through there as he heads up out of here through this little kink there to turn 7. You see the Superbike trying to wheelie. It is always trying to wheelie around VIR. But this part of the track, I feel like you can work on some stuff. You see how dry it is through there? Completely dry line. So if you were struggling through this part of the track yesterday, I think you can get out there and learn something early this morning.
Yeah, and it's interesting when you look at yesterday, what we saw from Bobby Fong was a lot of confidence in the opening qualifying session at the weekend. He just went out, he did an 11-lap run at the start of the stint, and pretty much all the laps in that 124 range, a couple of slower laps, but very fast, very consistent, and just showing that he was able to build on what he was able to do last time out.
Yeah, and for Hayden, really good first session yesterday morning for him, coming out strong, ending up second. Just didn't find the speed that the other riders found in the afternoon.
The Honda's coming on form as well. We've been able to see Hayden have some really good qualifying performances, getting himself onto the second row of the grid quite a few times this season. And that's always important to be able to give that rider confidence that they are seeing that progress with the bike. The Honda Fireblade, it's one of those packages that has a lot of potential and a lot of things going its own way. And for Hayden Gillam, this weekend is another opportunity to show that. And over the course of this weekend, you'll be able to catch up all the action live on MotoAmerica Live Plus. And if you go to MotoAmericaLivePlus.com, you'll be able to sign up for all the sessions, all the interviews through the course of a race weekend, and all the action here from the MotoAmerica paddock in all the different classes, as Hayden Gillam continues to push on. And for Hayden, last time around, down into the 26s, and he's faster again in that first sector, Rog, and still a little bit off the pace in that first sector, what he'd expect in full dry conditions, but he looks confident to throw the bike around.
Especially through this part of the track. And Hayden and that team's did a great job. It's great to see Honda back supporting the series, seeing some HRC engineers at the ridge, and Hayden's doing a good job on the bike. It's just so tough in Superbike. It's a really, as you know, it is a really tough class.
Yeah, it was really cool to see that Takeo San was here at the ridge last time, 2 rounds ago. And to see that support from Honda really is impressive and important. It gives everyone a big boost within the team. As Cameron Beaubier now gets himself ready to get out there. We obviously heard from Bobby Fong at the start of the session that they were making the changes to the bikes. But for the likes of Cam Beaubier, also in the situation now to try and get yourself ready for going out now as well.
And for Beaubier, you can see it looks like he's getting his helmet back on. He's seen enough. Sean Dillon Kelly headed back out as well. They've been probably looking at the lap times and seeing the track is close enough where they get some things they want to work on. Yeah,
and for Beaubier, we'll see what confidence he has right from the start of this weekend. You mentioned at Laguna how fast he was in practice, qualifying and into the races. That mistake was costly for him, but we've seen Beaubier bounce back from far worse than that. And he's going to come into this weekend knowing how important it is to be able to get back to winning races and giving yourself the opportunity to keep adding to your tally. It's been a while since he was able to win. The second round of the year was his last win this year as he leaves pit lane now. And I think for Beaubier, when you look at the season he's had, it's been about that consistency of always being at the front of the podiums, but a couple of big mistakes, a couple of non-scores, and that's been the big issue for him.
That's the big thing, the crash at MotoAmerica right there in that second Superbike race there, running second. And then also the crash we've seen at Laguna. Just thankfully for him at Laguna, he was able to pick up the bike and still get those 10 points.
Yeah, the non-score at MotoAmerica, and then still able to, like you said, Rog, consolidate something from the day at Laguna.
And Josh won 5 races in a row, and that's, you know, the difference between first and second is 5 points. So there's 25 points. Even if he was able to get second, he wasn't all those races. So, you know, the points is from Beaubier's mistake, but it's also because Josh went on a winning streak. But Beaubier is good enough, and he could go on a run. It wouldn't surprise me if he went on a run and won a bunch of races in a row.
That's the great thing about having riders like that at the front of the field here in MotoAmerica. And then you can also look at, see Bobby Fong on the left of the shot and his teammate Jake Gagne. You know that they can go out and win a bunch of races as well, and we've got those fast riders. You've got Sean Dillon Kelly that's been able to show his speed over the course of this season so far, and yesterday as well, provisionally on the front row of the grid. There's a lot of fast riders at the front of the field here, but there are those guys that you think they could go out and win 3, 4, 5 wins in a row, and it's up to a lot of other riders to try and stop them doing that. As we catch up to Sean Dillon Kelly here on the number 40 Suzuki, second fastest in yesterday's session, and just building into it now, and 37.8 is his fastest lap in this session, but we're going to see him obviously get a lot faster as he builds that confidence with the slick tires out there and just understands the track conditions out there. Let's have a look at SDK on his previous lap as he shows the bit of confidence there, Rog, in the conditions, and probably a little bit too big there, and I'd imagine that they'll be looking at the anti-wheelie now after that one. See for SDK now just making his way around and just popping that little wheelie through there, but that's a normal one through that section of the track. But for SDK, we'll see what lap time he's able to do next time around whenever he comes across the line. He's just into the final sector and pressing on and giving himself that opportunity to try and set a fast lap time now to be able to give himself that bit of confidence going into this afternoon's race. And for SDK, comes across the line, 37.8 was his first flying lap of the session, and on this lap he's going to go a lot faster than that. as he comes across the line. 28.4, still off the pace of what he was able to do in yesterday's session. SDK 24.8 in yesterday's running. As ever, we can play MotoAmerica for cash through the course of the season in the Superbikes, Baggers and Super Sport classes. They're all live on your top sportsbook and DFS platforms. So scan the flow code or visit nxtbets.com/playma to see what's available in your location. And for SDK into his first sector now, we'll see if he's able to keep building that confidence, Rog. But around about 4 seconds off his dry weather pace from yesterday. But what's interesting is Hayden Gillum now down into 26.0 as he's done now 6 laps in this session. And comparing that to yesterday's time, for him it was a 25.9, so pretty much straight down to that same pace as in yesterday. We've got race 1 for the Superbike class coming up later on this afternoon, and Josh Herron starts off as your favourite for it. And Rod, when you look at it, there's a few riders that can definitely get in the mix. Yeah,
and it's hard to, we mentioned Beaubier could go on a run and win a bunch of races in a row, but so could Bobby Fong, so could Jake Gagne. Josh Herron could continue to win. It is so competitive, it's hard to bet. But after yesterday, you'd think Bobby Fong, where he said, would be a pretty good bet for the weekend.
Yeah, only a small difference between Herron and Beaubier in terms of what's expected for them, and definitely when you look at Bobby Fong, good opportunity down there with the confidence that he has after Laguna. He could well be in the mix as we see Cam Beaubier now making his way around. 28.8 last time around. That was his first flying lap of the session, Rog. So he immediately started the session a lot more willing to press than a lot of the other riders that we've seen go out and build into it with their first lap in the 1:30 30s. For Beaubier, straight away trying to get his work done.
See a little movement there on the front end.
Beaubier comes across the line now, and we'll see what his lap time is. But 26.0 is the fastest time we've had so far in this session. 27.1 now for Beaubier as he continues to improve. Obviously, with the qualifying sessions, Rog, it's combined times over the course of the 2 days, and Bobby Fong's 24.5 is the time to beat, and that'll be the time from yesterday's session. But interesting that straight away Hayden Gillum in this session able to get down pretty close to his time from yesterday, only a 1/10 of a second slower. So Bobby Fong's time, it might well be gettable during the course of this 40-minute session.
And Hayden, they might have had problems or something yesterday afternoon, because in the morning session he was quite a bit quicker than he went in the afternoon. So, in the morning session he did a 25.5, in the afternoon he did a 25.9, so he was about a half a second slower. So there was definitely something they were trying to figure out.
It's back into the pit box for the 69 crew, and Gillum just getting a few changes done to the bike, and then we'll be able to get him back out there on track. We've seen that the likes of Josh Herron hasn't gone out, Ashton Yates hasn't gone out, Jake Gagne, Bobby Fong, and Escalante and Danilo Lewis as well. They haven't left the pits at this stage of the session, and you'd expect that they'll be getting there pretty soon now, Rog. Obviously, the extra 10 minutes of track time for this qualifying session, time gained back from yesterday, but usually for qualifying it's only a 30-minute session, so they're not losing out on too much of their usual running during the qualifying session.
We talk a lot about having a strong Friday, and for some of these riders who had a really good day yesterday, feeling good going into the race, a little bit of the pressure's off. But if you struggled yesterday and you were off the pace and you've got a lot of stuff to work on, it kind of forces your hand to go out there maybe when the track's not that good.
Yeah, you can see here for Bobby Fong, the team just still having to change the tyres out to put in their slicks for this session. So all quite calm down there for the attack team, but he'll be keen to get himself out now pretty soon. His teammate, you can see the other blue bike down there still waiting to go out. This is Sean Dillon Kelly up by a 1/10 of a second on his fastest time in the session at 26.0. But for SDK, still around about 1.2 seconds slower than he went yesterday.
This is where we've seen the Willie, the first lap he went out in. What a lot difference in Hayden just then. And you can see there he's just able to keep that thing wide open.
Obviously as well, Rog, that first lap into the session, it's easy to be a little bit lazier on the bike, sit a little bit further back. You're not pressing on, you're not pushing hard, but it does give you a reminder that the Superbikes can catch out pretty quickly. We see SDK making his way around on one of his fast laps. And Rog, when you look at this track, this is one of the key areas the track gets a little bit squirty there for Kelly. But this is one of the key areas of the track where you really go curb to curb and try and give yourself that opportunity to just hold and carry the momentum.
Yeah, but going over those curbs can also upset the bike. But this is one of those tracks where the riders will be hanging over the curves and then also trying to go over them, especially in turns like 5 to 7, because they're trying to make that as straight as possible.
And obviously, enough of a track like this, it's only 2.1 miles, but there's a lot built into it.
It's a lot. And this part of the track looks like it's getting better as well as the one that was a little bit slower to dry out, but you can see where Beaubier is looking a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more normal through this part of the track. Here's one of those parts of the track. You talk about the curb. See the one right there on the left? A couple different lines there. Beaubier probably trying to stay away from the paint. And then also through this next part, these riders are really hanging over these curves, because the further you are over the curb, the better the bike is going to turn for you.
When you look at Beaubier's style on the bike, he's always got great style, but when he's hustling as well, he always looks all action all the time. You can see the number 6 still out in front of Richie Escalante on track right now. Beaubier's fast time in the session, 26.7 was last time around. And last time around 26.7, around about 0.2 of a second off his fastest time in the session. Still halfway through this session, we're not really seeing too many of those front runners putting it all on the line, but at least we know that the track conditions aren't bad out there, and everyone was able to get themselves into the 25s like SDK, or straight down into the 26.0s for Hayden Gillim. So it does give you confidence that when riders like Josh Herron come out, he still hasn't left the pits, that he'll immediately be fast. Bobby Fong hasn't left the pits, pace setter yesterday, and we're still round about a second, 1.3 seconds slower than his provisional pole time right now, as Hayden Gillim comes across the line, 26.0 for Hayden, and that's a couple of hundredths of a second faster than he'd gone on his first stint. And we'll see what he does now on his next lap, Rog, because from this point on, this is where you really do need to start building into it. And for Gillim, what we saw yesterday was the 3rd row provisionally, and not a bad qualifying effort from him, but he'll be gunning for that 2nd row considering what he's done in recent rounds.
Yeah, and even the way he was in the first practice yesterday morning, had to have his sights on maybe the front row or 2nd row. So big session for Hayden, and we're going to see as it winds down. There's still 18 minutes left. You see the bike, the curb again. When you go over the curb, sometimes if you have a little bit of lean angle going over those curbs, it can really upset the bike.
What about these curbs as well? After it's rained, sometimes it does hold that little bit of water in the gaps between them.
And some of them you can see the little ripples there that'll hold the water as well. So you can see they're just a little bit off that inside curve.
It's always a time when experience counts for an awful lot. You've ridden a lot of laps around this track. You build up that little bit of knowledge about what happens after it rains, how quickly it dries, where do the rivers develop, where do the puddles stay, and were you able to push that little bit harder. But that takes a lot of time and a lot of experience to learn those lessons. You can see for Escalante, 26 there for Richie Escalante, 26.6, and he's able to set his personal best of the session. We've only had 6 riders out there setting lap times in the session now with Escalante. The 6th of those runners, Benjamin Smith, is 6th fastest, 27.1, and still waiting to see when our other front runners all start to leave the pits. And is it a bit of a surprise, Rog, at this stage that we still haven't seen the Yamahas? We still haven't seen Josh Herron out there?
Well, I think they had good days yesterday, and I feel like they feel like they can't learn anything going a couple seconds off the pace. If they had a big problem and they really were trying to sort something out, and also they don't want to take a chance, they know the track's going to continue to get better.
Yeah, and obviously with the 2 qualifying sessions, you've got that as your option. You can see there for Escalante, just on the front of the bike, the front fender, you can see just how much it's moving around on him. Just gives a good illustration of the bumps out there.
And even through this part of the track as well, you can see that the bike's starting to move around a little bit as he starts going downhill. This next right-hander is where we've seen a lot of chatter yesterday. Watch the front end as he goes through there. You see all that movement.
You can hear it as well, Rog, with the electronics just trying to kick in and the traction control and different things. A track like this as well is quite complicated for the electronics package. So many times where you've got that elevation change and a big drop on the exit whenever you're on the side of the tire on the gas. It's a big challenge to be able to get everything dialed in.
And also too, the wheelie control at this track is really hard on these Superbikes because they're so powerful, and when you change directions, they want to wheelie going over those curves. Those bikes really want to wheelie, and that's a tough part. Not only you got to get the bike set up right, you got to get the electronics right too.
It's interesting you mentioned that while we're looking at the Suzuki. It's a good looking bike, the GSX-R, but it's an old bike.
Yep.
You look at here with Bobby Fong, the wings on the front of his bike. You look at the big wings that you have on Cameron Bobier's bike. You look at the Ducati for Josh Herron. You don't have that with the Suzuki, and that also plays a role in your wheelie control. Fong now just continues on what will be his first representative lap, and 2 personal bests in the first 2 sectors, as you'd expect. And in that first sector, though, 1.2 seconds off Cameron Bobier's fastest time in this session. So still for Bobby Fong, very much just building up into this one. For Bobier, it's back into the pits. You can see that on the timing tower on the left-hand side of the screen. It's only Escalante that's out there that's at a lap time, and now Bobby Fong as well. And Bobby 27.4, so right about 3 seconds off the pace that he's capable of. But we'll see Bobby just building into that over the course of the next few laps. 15 minutes left in the session. You'd kind of expect him just to stay out for the duration there, Rog.
And I thought the lap times would continue to drop a little quicker. It just makes me think that the track, as Escalante goes to the top of the board, where it's just a little bit green after the rain.
For Escalante, he's only a 100th of a second slower than he went yesterday, and at least that's going to give him some confidence going into his next run. You can see that he looks like he's ready to come back into the pits. But in terms of the weather conditions, what can you tell us, Mike?
Yeah, what I can tell you, Steve, is that the clouds are blowing over, but it is starting to rain. There are spots of rain now in the pit lane, and a couple of the guys on the Suzuki X-Star team coming out and just looking at the skies and pointing and having a bit of a chat with their Super Sport riders, which are coming out next, of course. So spots of rain. Doesn't at the moment seem like it's going to be a downpour, but there are definitely some precipitation in the air.
And Rod, you can see a few spots there maybe on the camera as well, but at this stage for the rider, is that rain that's going to impact on you? It's one of those things that obviously you'll get those spits on the visor, you'll think about it, but shouldn't really have much of an impact on the track. And
that's the thing that you mentioned it there, that the spots on the visor, and at this speed, it makes those drops look even bigger. So it's tough to judge.
Always tough to be able to judge that. Let's see how Bobby Fong judges it here as he comes down the hill, and you can see that change direction. You talked about it yesterday, Rog. As you come down the hill, all the load changes on the bike, and it makes that change really tricky for the riders if you're a little bit offline or a little bit on the gas through there. And
also the track conditions as well, it being a little bit slick, a little bit different lines, kind of changes your lean angle through there. See what Bobby can do. You can see on this screen here the rain continue to kind of pick up a little bit.
Just for the riders around a track like this as well, there's no let up. This is a properly physical racetrack on the Superbike.
Even on the Superbike at this track, the front straightaway is really not a straightaway. I mean, we've seen early on in the session, since Sean Dillon Kelly, the bike wheeling come out of the last corner. Well, he was fighting that all the way down to pretty much the kink at the start-finish line. So even though there's a long straightaway on one of these Superbikes, that's not really that much time to rest.
See that for Bobby on this lap, he really is pushing on. You can hear just trying to get that bike stopped into the right-hander, and with these Superbikes now, a lot of rear brake being used by the riders. The style on the bike has changed an awful lot over the last few years. Bobby comes across the line. Let's see what his lap time is, 26.5. So again, personal best for Bobby Fong, still about 2 seconds off of the pace that he's capable of. So we've had a few riders, Rog, that have gotten close to their times from yesterday. Richie Escalante only a couple of hundredths of a second off his fastest time yesterday. Hayden Gillam a few hundredths off his as well. So for those riders, at least able to show that if you're pressing on, you're able to get close to those times. Let's see what Sean Dillon Kelly's able to do when he comes across the line. Yesterday it was a 24.8 for SDK. And whenever he comes across the line, we'll be able to see that he should move up to the top of the timesheets, and it's a 25.1, so around about a quarter of a second slower than yesterday. So those few little spits and spots of rain not really impacting any of the riders, but let's see what SDK is doing through here. And again, Rog, just once that front wheel comes off, you've got no option for where that bike's going.
Yeah, just you see, there's just a little bit of lean angle going over that curve, and that's all it takes. Common, you see that a lot here at this track, and it's tough to get it, make sure you get it right.
Obviously through that part of the track as well, it's opened up to be a straight line, so you have to ride like that through there. But every lap you're also quite cautious of it, particularly at the end of races when that tire starts to drop, or in conditions like this when you've got those few little patches of damp on the curbs. But SDK still just keeping a pin through there and giving himself the chance to set fast lap times. First sector, fastest of all, so he's found another quarter of a second. So this is coming down close to yesterday's times for him.
quite a bit cleaner that lap. That's what he's trying to do each lap. But as the track gets better, he's pushing a little bit harder, a little bit offline. But that time they looked good through there for Sean Dillon Kelly.
You can hear the bike there as well, Rog, just the little cuts for the electronics. And for the rider, obviously a lot of the times you want to be able to open up the bike, open up the electronics to let you have that bit of freedom. But also you do need to be able to rely on it at the same time.
And that's the thing too, getting the confidence in the electronics. When the bike, you hear them cutting out, the bike starting to slide around, you got to know that those electronics are going to jump in and help out when you need it.
And just to build that confidence in them does take time. That's where when we see riders jump onto a Superbike for the first time, that's one of the big things that they do have to learn. And some riders are able to fall into it very easily, and some riders take a little bit of time to build into it. And we're seeing Jake Gagne now build into his session, just about to run through the first sector for the first time in this flying lap, as he starts to put up some representative lap times on his number 32 Yamaha. And you'll be able to catch all the action all the way through this weekend and all the rounds of MotoAmerica Live Plus, and good opportunity to be able to see some great racing across all the different classes. And here this weekend, Rog, we've got some good action across the different classes with Superbike, Super Sport. We've got Stock 1000 here as well, and the Twins Cup class, the Talent Cup, and then the Build Train Race class as well. So it's good action all the way through this weekend. And it looks like Max Flinders, his action might well be coming to an end for this session. He looks a little bit frustrated there coming into pit lane.
And Max is a true privateer. Drives the truck, works on the bike, and just what an effort he puts in to come here each race weekend, and at 9th in this qualifier right now. So having a little bit of trouble that you can see he's getting a little bit frustrated with.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see the riders and teams that are able to do that as well. The full effort to go to every round, and as you said, for Max driving the truck, also racing in the baggers class as well. And we do see a lot of riders doubling up across the different classes. But Michael Hill down pit lane, what can you tell us about Max Flinders?
Yeah, we just saw there on the TV the frustration from Max. One of the team members just walked past me exiting the pit lane, said session is over. They have an issue with the headstock of the motorcycle. Max is not feeling it, so they don't know whether it's maybe a bearing or something not quite right in the front of the bike. So they're going to go and obviously do the precautionary checks to make sure that he's ready for the race. But that is what the issue is.
Thanks, Mike. And we're now catching up with Cameron Beaubier. Cameron Beaubier just improved his time from yesterday, Rog. And this would now indicate that Bobby Fong's time is going to be under pressure in the last 10 minutes of the session. 24.5 is the provisional pole time from yesterday. 24.8 was what Cam Beaubier did last time around. So for Bobby Fong, he now needs to pick it up a little bit, knowing that the likes of Beaubier are coming for him. And for Josh Herron, he's now left the pits, and we'll start to see what Herron can do as well. It's going to be a shootout for the last 8 minutes here in this session.
That's front row for Beaubier. So it moves Josh back down to the second row, so he's going to try to get out and see what he can do.
And look at that first sector now for Beaubier as well, up by just under a tenth of a second on his fastest time in this session, and really is pressing on. That's a really interesting part of the track through there as well, Rog. You can see leaned over, heavy braking into there, and he's got a lot of confidence in the bike, as gives up a couple of tenths of a second there in that second sector. But for Beaubier, just coming through in towards the final sector, could still well be the fastest time we've had from him, and it is a 24.6. And for Beaubier, second on the grid right now, and only a tenth of a second off the pole time.
It's still time to go, 7 minutes left, and now kind of getting that confidence back with the track and knowing where the grip's at. And also as a rider, when you start to get quicker like Beaubier's doing right now, that confidence really starts to grow inside yourself.
I'm really interested now to see what happens for Josh Herron whenever he's able to put in his lap time, because for Herron, we know how quick he's able to get himself down to speed. He sat out basically the first 34 minutes of this session, and he'll have time for a few laps at the end of it now to be able to set his lap time for that for the grid spots, as Bobby Fong improves his lap time, still in the 25s though, Rog, and about 1.2 seconds slower than he went yesterday. So he makes his way around on this lap. Doesn't look like Beaubier is out there trying to find time on his next lap in that first sector, as Richie Escalante leaves the pits, and we'll keep an eye on what everyone's able to do during the course of this one. And out there with that Q tire as well, Rog.
Yeah, so you see that orange band right there. That's the Superbike guys get that tire in this qualifier, and it's a little bit softer compared to their race tire, and they go out and try to get that really good lap. You see Hayden Gillum's got one on his bike as well. So I think the guys on track, you're going to see them all try to come in and see if they can have their opportunity on this qualifying tire.
How different does it feel with that Q tire in? Does it help on the entry? Does it help on the exit?
It helps on the entry more than you think, because it takes away that engine braking. And really, back whenever there used to be the qualifying tire was only one lap, you could brake so deep. You could almost make up just as much time on the brakes, I felt like, as you did on corner exit.
And that's one of the big things for a lot of riders as well, to be able to try and keep that rear wheel down to help it drag it into the corner. And with the Q tire, it helps that. And for Hayden Gillum now, we're seeing his improvement as he comes through the Sean Dillon Kelly section there, but a little bit out of shape for Gillum, but able to keep the momentum through there, and just loses out a bit of time in sector 2.
Turn 7, he was wide. He got in a little bit deep, and I think that's where that second sector went away from him. And with this tire, this qualifying tire, you can get more than one lap out of it. So that's the great thing about that. Even though you make a mistake on that lap, now he still has another opportunity.
Let's see what Gillum's time is as he comes across the line. Still his fastest time of the session and his fastest time of the weekend. So for Hayden, he's been able to find around about a half a second compared to yesterday with that time. And good to be able to see that whenever it wasn't a perfect lap, Rog, and he's going to give himself the chance to improve on that. And one more lap probably with that Q tire.
Moved up to the second row also.
And that second row spot has been where he's been in terms of his raw pace over the last few rounds. It's been good to be able to see that from the Honda rider. This is Sean Dillon Kelly that we catch up now with, and SDK fastest of all in the first sector. This could well be a time that could challenge for the pole time, but we can see those few spots of rain on the camera once again. Let's see what SDK can do in the middle sector. Finds another 1/10 of a second there, so 3/10 of a second up. And for Cambobier's time, it's round about a 1/10 of a second off the fastest time we had yesterday. So this could well be provisional pole for Sean Dillon Kelly as he comes down in towards the final sector and across the line. Let's see what the lap time is as he crosses the line. It's a 24.5, and that's about 0.04 of a second faster than we saw from Bobby Fong yesterday. So good effort there from SDK, giving himself that opportunity provisionally on the pole. But we're going to have more riders out there setting times. Jake Gagne has just left the pits, so we'll see what Gagne can do with his Q tire in. And down into the last 3.5 minutes of the session, Rog, this is where we really get that bit of excitement now for all these Superbike riders.
And Sean's bike over the curb, where we're seeing him have some struggles, the teams did a great job. The thing looked really good on that fast lap. Here he goes over a curve as well. Looks like the bike's been working on getting it a little bit more stable.
Yeah, and you can see for Kelly just coming down in towards, there's some flags down there. Looks like they were just the lack of adhesion flags maybe, or the rain flags down there just to tell the riders about those spots of rain. But for SDK in the first sector, a little bit slower this time around by probably 0.5 of a second. So we'll see if he's able to find something in sector 2 as some other riders start to leave the pits now. Cameron Bobier has just left the pits underneath us here at the commentary box, so we'll get to see what Bobier is able to do with his Q tire. And then the likes of Bobby Fong is out there as well. We'll see if he's able to find something on his tire as well. We see for Sean Dillon Kelly, we can see that he's just making his way through to the end of this lap, and we'll see if he's able to back up his consistency as well. 24.5 last time around, 24.7 this time around for Sean Dillon Kelly. Look over the shoulder, he knows that's his session done now, Rog. As SDK waits to finish off his session, we're going to get an update from down in pit lane about Josh Herron.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Just standing down here, and I'm quite close to the Ducati pit stalls. I saw the bikes of Cam Peterson being wheeled out, and then suddenly realised that I hadn't seen the #1 Ducati. We haven't seen him on track, so with only a couple of minutes to go, it's unlikely we're going to see him. So the lowdown is that the decision was made because of the weather that Josh would not take any part in this session. Now, I don't know whether that's going to prove to be a wise decision or not, because as we've just seen from Sean Dillon Kelly and Cam Bobier, the lap times now are starting to come, but no laps in qualifying 2 for Josh Herron. Is that going to put him on the back foot for race 1?
Well, the man that we need to keep an eye on is the 32 of Jake Gagne that we can see now. Yesterday, Gagne was 25.1, so if Gagne is able to get himself up to the close to the top of the times in this session, that's going to relegate Josh Herron down another spot. And Rog, that's a little bit of inflexibility there from the team. Obviously, coming into the session, you could understand it, but now that everyone's out there with basically perfect track conditions, it's a missed opportunity.
And the team just they did a good job making good decisions, and and Josh has got that experience as well. And, he's riding on a high right now with a lot of confidence, and might not want to go out there and have a big mistake.
What's it like as well whenever he goes into the race, though? He hasn't done a lap today before lap 1 of the race.
Yeah, it can be tough, but for a guy like Josh Herring with the experience that he has, a good rider like him, he's going to be able to adjust quick.
Let's have a look at Bobby Fong coming across the line, up by a 1/4 of a second on Sean Dillon Kelly. And for Bobby Fong, it's a lap that's 24.6, losing ground in that final sector. And we did see in the final sector SDK was really strong, but Bobby Fong with time for 1 more lap.
Look at the rear end there. God, that is such a cool shot. You talk about trusting the electronics. That is full trust in the electronics today, because he did not let off the throttle.
Is it full trust or too much trust there? But for Bobby Fong, we'll see if Bobby's able to find something on his final lap of the session. And for his teammate Jake Gagne, we still haven't seen Gagne really put in a time with his Q tyre, but he's on to his last lap of the session now. The checkered flag is out, and riders are able to complete the lap that they're on, but they're not able to start another one. So Bobby Fong at 39.1 in the first sector, Rog. He's on course on this lap, but we saw was that final sector that he lost a bit of time last time around.
Yeah, and right here in the second sector, and this is where we seen in the last lap. Look at the rear end trying to slide through there, getting the power up over the curb into turn 14.
See, just trying to get that bike stopped. And for Bobby, just about to come through the end of that second sector, up by another half a tenth through there. So he's got a good margin, but SDK is so strong in that final sector. Bobby, if he has a good run through to the line, though, could well take that pole position. And he's just about to come across the start-finish line now, and his session is going to come to a close. Is it going to be first or second on the grid for Bobby Fong? It's provisionally onto that pole position. 24.2 for Bobby Fong. And Rog, doesn't really look like too many riders are out there able to improve on their final lap. Jake Gagne has improved his lap time, but at 25.6 for Gagne, that's still a half a second off what he did yesterday. So for Jake Gagne, not able to find that improvement. For our championship leader, Josh Herron, looks like it should be 4th on the grid for Herron. And our front row is going to be Bobby Fong, Sean Dillon Kelly, and Cam Beaubier up there as well on the front row of the grid. And for Bobby Fong, a great lap there at the end of the session.
Yeah, great lap for Bobby. And really the team played it perfectly, getting him out there toward the end with that qualifying tire where the track was going to be in its best shape. And I think for Bobby, quickest yesterday, now quickest this morning as well. He has got to go in that race 1 this afternoon with a lot of confidence. Yeah,
he's going to have a lot of confidence going into that. Obviously comes here having won the last 2 races. And for Bobby, it's a good chance to be able to back everything up that we saw at Laguna last time around. And another opportunity for him and for the Attack Yamaha team to be right up at the front of the field. For the 2025 season, Tom Juma Fine Jewelers of Ohio will produce custom championship rings and pendants for the MotoAmerica champions in the Superbike, King of the Baggers, Supersport and Mini Cup classes. Tom will work with each champion to choose from several designs with retail values between $12,000 to $15,000. Two qualifying sessions for the Superbike class, and it's Bobby Fong that led the way in both of them. 24.2 this morning sets the pole time, and Fong will lead off that front row of the grid from Sean Dillon Kelly and Cam Beaubier. We didn't see Josh Herron in action in the second qualifying session, but he'll lead out the second row of the grid from Jake Gagne and Richie Escalante. And for Sean Dillon Kelly, that middle of the front row, really impressive pace all the way through the session. He's down in pit lane with Michael Hill.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Just down here, Sean, just asking where he qualified. Middle of the front row of the grid, P2. Strong showing for you and for the Vision Wheel X-Star Suzuki, but some big wheelies during that session.
Yeah, honestly, really happy with another front row. I think that's 5 out of 6 now, so really happy with the speed that we've been showing. I know we were in the fight for pole there at the end, so obviously missed out by something, but really happy with how we're feeling so far, and honestly, it's just, I'm obviously at a point right now where I really want everything to line up. You know, we've been showing speed, but we need things to line up for the races now. So really focused for race 1 and looking forward to doing a good battle up front.
Excellent. Looking forward to seeing you a little bit later on. Thanks, Sean. Stay with us on MotoAmerica Live Plus here at VIR. We're getting ready for qualifying from Supersport, and then a whole afternoon of racing and a whole host of other good things too.
I'm Jonathan with Motul Performance Lubricants. We're proud to be the official lubricant of the 2025 King of the Baggers Series with MotoAmerica. Deeply rooted in power sports, Motul has been a pioneer in oil technology, including the first multi-grade oil and the first fully synthetic motor oil in 1971.
My name is Dieter Michels. My position is technical expert within Motul Corporate Group. I'm based in Paris, France. You got to distinguish between the typical European architecture of a motorcycle engine and the American and English one. The European is one housing with the engine, clutch and transmission inside. In the European architecture, the oil has to do it all. On the American architecture, you could concentrate on each part and then create the best oil for exactly this application. And that's why we got, for the V-twins, we got 3 different oils. Engine oil, primary and transmission.
Whether you own an American Big Twin, a small European scooter, a leader bike, or anything in between, Motul has you covered. So make sure you get down to your nearest dealer or retailer, shop motul.com, determine what your best needs are, including our wide range of motorcycle care products, and be ready for your next ride with Motul.
Hi, my name is Michael Himmelsbach. I'm here with Olin's Racing. This is our service trailer behind us, and we support about 85–90% of the paddock here at MotoAmerica, including all of the professional racers down to everybody in the hooligans class, the baggers, and every class that's out here. I want to introduce to you the King of the Baggers shock that we've developed. This is the new HD 779 with fully adjustable ride height, spring preload, compression, and rebound. This was developed through our inception with the King of the Baggers and our support through Harley-Davidson and Indian Motor Company. So this is a brand new product that was developed on the racetrack, and we're here to support all of the teams and the riders.
Hi guys, I'm Josh Hayes. Michael just handed this over to me to introduce to you about the TTX Racing shock, which this one here in particular is for the R9 that I'm racing. And this thing has all the same adjustability that he talked about that's on all of the Olin's machines and all of their shocks. Why do I choose Olin's, you might ask? Well, for one, I love gold, but quality, top notch, and then of course, the information that's available. Olin's has such a deep well. They support so many racing series all over the world. There's no better place if you need information that can cover everything from the heaviest guy to the lightest guy, fastest guy to the slowest guy. They've got information. They can get you going in the right way so that you can start making progress and enjoy riding your motorcycles. All right, guys, if you're ready to go get your Olin's equipment, all you got to do is come see the support truck here at the MotoAmerica races or go to olins.com.
Hi.
Welcome back to Virginia International Raceway. We've now got the Motivation Supersport qualifying session. 30 minutes of action here for the Supersport class. And it's already underway now with the first flying laps just about to begin for most of the leading riders in this class. About 27.5 minutes remaining. And Rog, what we've been able to see over the course of the action this weekend, Matthew Schultz leading the way and looking really impressive.
Yeah, Matt's had a great weekend so far. Just looks like he's going to be the guy to beat. Not only is he leading these sessions, but he's just leading them from start to finish, and he's got a couple tenths on the rest of the field in his back pocket.
We've seen that pace, we've seen that consistency over the course of this weekend. We've also seen it last year where, of course, he was able to wrap up that championship success. This year, though, it's been a different challenge for Matthew Schultz on the #1 Yamaha. It's a different package this year, the Yamaha R9, and he's been able to put together a solid season this year. And for our reigning champion in the Super Sport class, the season is distilled down to a battle between himself and PJ Jacobson. Only 3 points between them. Blake Davis is in third spot. It's been an impressive run of form for Blake in recent rounds. And Cam Peterson, obviously with all the injuries through the course of the season, finding his form, and we know the speed's there for Peterson, so we'd expect to see him able to challenge for race wins on his Ducati through the year. Tyler Scott up there in the top 5 as well. for our championship leader, PJ Jacobson. We can see here the number 15 Ducati just behind Blake Davis on track. PJ was third